Welcome to another episode of Garden Life. Today, we will be learning about growing on raised beds, how to select a good location, and how to prepare the soil. This is Garden Life, the channel for all of your gardening needs. A great approach to increase crop yield and make the most of your space is to plant and grow veggies in raised beds. Raised bed constructions offer crucial growing environments, reducing the need for bending and weeding, enabling gardeners to manage soil quality, fend against pests, and providing a fundamentally warm and nourishing environment for root systems to flourish. We can't emphasize how beneficial planting and growing veggies in raised beds is, but there are a few important factors to keep in mind to make sure your long-term investment is successful. Take a look at some of the crucial advice on what you can do to offer your vegetables the best chance of success when you plant and grow them in raised beds. pH and raised bed soil composition. To plant and develop vegetables on a raised bed, the soil's composition is essential. Gardeners have the chance to receive superior soil and improve the soil's quality with helpful amendments by filling their raised vegetable gardens, which allows them to continuously add nutrients to their planting medium. You have complete control over the soil your crops will grow in if you plant in raised beds. To promote optimal growth, choose soil with a pH between 5.8 and 7.5 when planting and growing vegetables in raised beds. How to water raised beds. Soils in raised beds are drier than soils below ground. Water your garden well and frequently while growing veggies in raised beds. Raised bed gardens benefit from a few inches of mulch to assist the soil in retaining moisture. So that the water doesn't evaporate away in the blazing sun, water your plants thoroughly in the morning. The additional benefit of watering in the morning is that it allows the foliage to dry out in the sun, keeping the leaves disease-free. Keep weeds at bay because they will deprive your vegetables of a lot of moisture and nutrients. As soon as you see them, pull them out and throw them away. Weeds are typically easier to remove before they establish themselves or after they have seeded the entire garden bed. When the ground is moist from rain or irrigation, they are also simpler to remove. How much sunlight do raised beds need? For planting and growing vegetables in raised beds, choose a location in your yard that receives at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each day. Track the sun in your yard before building raised vegetable beds to determine where the beds should go. Height and spacing factors for raised bed gardens. While planting and growing vegetables in raised beds, it is crucial to determine the spread and height requirements of your vegetable plants so that you can space them appropriately. Plants that are too near to one another risk encroaching on one another, competing with each other for nutrients, water, and sunshine, never developing to their full potential and developing diseases due to poor air circulation. Think about how each plant's development pattern will affect nearby plants in the same garden bed. When planting, always verify the estimated height and spread. A little seed can develop into a huge plant. In raised garden beds, you may either put support structures like trellises or obelisks to encourage vertical growth, or you can let plants that spread out spill over the side of the beds. When growing vegetables in raised beds, these growing solutions can drastically increase the growth space. Place trellis and high-reaching varieties like corn, okra, and vining bean varieties toward the back or the center of the garden bed to ensure that smaller vegetables still receive enough direct sunlight. Tall growing plants can overshadow compact varieties. You won't have to stretch through taller crops to find your harvest if crops are planted in accordance with height. When you employ vertical and overflow strategies, you can space plants closer together to guarantee that every square inch of the garden bed is productive. Vertical supports and succession planting are two small space gardening strategies that can guarantee the most effective use of available space. How to make sure that your raised plant beds receive the right amount of nutrition. The soil you use to fill your raised vegetable garden determines how healthy your plants will be. In order for vegetable plants to reach their maximum potential, they require regular nutrients. Many vegetables are high nutrient feeders, and if they are not fed enough, they will fight for food. Here are some techniques you can use while planting and cultivating vegetables in raised beds to provide nutrients to the soil. At least twice a year, add well-decomposed compost, worm castings, and other organic material to your soil. and other organic material to your soil. Give your garden beds a slow-release organic fertilizer, together with plants that fix nitrogen back into the soil as they grow, like beans and other legumes. You can also think about planting heavy feeders. Depth considerations for raised beds. Even when they share the same garden bed, large and small vegetable kinds have differing depth needs. Vegetable plants with deep roots will obstruct the root systems of their neighbors if the soil is not deep enough to allow them to grow. Make sure your garden beds have a substantial amount of soil depth so that other plant root systems will not obstruct them. Pest prevention for raised plant beds. It is easier to manage damaging insects and deter animal pests from munching on your vegetables when you're planting and growing vegetables in a raised bed. You can easily cover beds with row covers and more effectively control pests with companion planting tactics. Raised beds inherently help protect the root systems of plants from tunneling pests as well. Consider laying down hardware cloth along the bottom of your raised beds for an added measure of protection. Visit your raised bed garden on a daily basis and check each plant for signs of disease or pests, picking off dead or deceased foliage or easily spied bugs. Interplant with flowers or plants that are natural deterrents of pests. Interplanting with plants can also attract beneficial pollinators and beneficial insects that feed on damaging garden pests. Planting succession in raised beds. Even in small spaces, you can harvest an array of vegetables throughout the growing season if you do a little planning. Succession planting is the practice of seeding crops at intervals to maintain a consistent supply of produce throughout the growing season. Succession planting also involves planting a new plant after harvesting the previous crop. Check out the days to maturation for your garden vegetables. Sometimes you can get creative and sneak in other vegetables that mature more quickly or nestle in a succession crop after a large vining plant has stopped producing. Plant and obtain a harvest of radishes and lettuce greens before larger plants take over the area with their swooping vines. Once large crops like tomatoes, squash, and eggplants stop producing, pull them out and plant later season crops after them that thrive in the cooler fall temperatures like broccoli, lettuce, and kale. Be sure to amend the soil with organic matter before planting the next crop. Companion planting in raised beds. Companion planting can greatly increase the production of your crops when growing vegetables in raised beds. Almost every vegetable you cultivate can benefit from a beneficial companion plant, which can increase soil nutrients, ward off pests, attract beneficial pollinators, enhance plant flavor, or draw predatory insects that want to eat your vegetables. These are a few of our go-to combinations for producing and planting veggies in raised beds. To ward off the carrot fly, grow onions next to carrots. To enhance flavor and ward against aphids and spider mites, plant basil alongside tomatoes and peppers. To protect tomatoes from nematodes, plant marigolds nearby. Sow beans and corn together. While beans return nitrogen to the soil as they develop, corn is a strong nitrogen feeder. Corn can also be used as a vertical support structure for beans to climb. To deter cucumber beetles and aphids, plant marigold and nasturtium plants close to cucumber plants. For heat protection, grow broccoli and carrots in the shade of taller tomato plants. In vegetable gardens, there are many more pairs that are advantageous to grow together, and some plants do not get along. Finding what works and what doesn't in this process might be aided through trial and error. Vegetables grow best in raised garden beds, which are the perfect surface for planting. They not only provide neat and attractive producing areas, but they can also assist in resolving issues like problematic soil, weeds, and pests. You can make the most of every square inch of your growing space and dramatically increase your garden output by using raised beds for vegetable growth and applying certain professional planting and growing techniques. That's it for today's video. We hope that you learned a lot about planting in raised beds. What do you think is more beneficial? Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more gardening tips. Again, this is Garden Life, the channel for all of your gardening needs.